Alright, here we go. Silence. The temple was silent. Sylv was silent. Kek, Lord of Valor, was silent. The ambassadors of Izeth, Care, the Verdenval, Elmheim, silent. The Celestrit were silent. The Darkest, however, were not. No, they were very busy, burrowing under the black sand of his homeland, turning the twilight desert of his ancestry into a realm of nightmares. His father had retreated into the palace to work with the priestesses of Sylv to attempt to contact the Celestrit, hoping that their gods might save them from the onslaught of the Darkest and their chittering hordes. Silence met the king's ears, in the mind places of the priestesses. The Celestrit were silent. Perhaps it was contempt for the mortals. Perhaps the Heavens Pact simply prevented them from interfering. If that were the case, this was the work of the Celestrit, and they could help their damned silence. Wow, I'm fucking up, man. If that were the case, and this was the work of the Celestrit, and they could keep their damned silence as far as time was concerned, the only other cause for their silence would be that the Darkest had finally consumed and destroyed the Celestrit, as they had long been prophesied to do. The thought of his gods being slain by the very menace that plagued his land was far from horrid to him. Tyne had never held much but contempt for his supposed gods. They sat upon an ethereal mantle, possessing all the power in the world to solve the problems of disease and starvation and slavery, and the vile things pouring south from the Cairn Empire. Yet they sat with their thumbs up their asses, crying over the disappearance of their father, and refused to aid their own children. Damn the Celestrit, damn the Darkest and the Void with any rot about prayer. His hands were far better suited to the blade, and the only thing he cared about was saving his people. The 10th Farlian Legion, under command of Prince Inherent Tyne Gamroyal, pulled back to the Black Citadel. The plague had not yet breached the walls of their home, but it had been the death of other larger nations. None of them, save the Wyrmridge, had the tenacity of his people, but it had been almost a month since riders came through the Shroud with news of the outside world. The last rider had side tidings from Izeth. It was that news that had recalled his father to the palace in Syl's temple. Fallen. The Izeth had fallen. Their vast kingdom, built upon science and magic, had crumbled. The free folk of the Verdenval had of course been isolated by this. The only other way for them to flee their land was through the treacherous bogs of the Sutherland, and few who knew that place dared enter. The vagrant tribesmen must have surely fallen with their neighbors. It was grim news indeed that everything east of the Wyrmridge had fallen. The Cairn could help them. They had the largest military and the closest connection to the Celestrit, yet 2 months ago their high priest had declared this the divine cleansing of the non-believers, and ordered all those devout to Yoakum to return to their homeland. No riders came from the north. They were likely overjoyed to hear that their long enemy had been consumed by the Darkest. The fools. Tyne stood behind his field desk, his great blade upon it, scattered papers and maps throughout the tent. His quill was still ink-filled, dripping out upon the surface of his desk and staining several rolls of parchment and vellum, his newest order freshly penned. He hated himself for it. He hated that it was necessary. He handed the order to his captains to look over, disgust showing on their faces. No Farlian should face such a time, nor any world such dire straits, that this be the only way to safety and potential recompense. Decree an official order, hand of Tyne Gamroyal, 10th Legion. It's with sorrow that I must order final mercy upon the infected. When they are too weak to carry on, or too far gone to be noted as sane, they are to be put down and incinerated, no matter the rank, status, or caste of the infected. We must purge the plague with fire and halt the Darkest at the Shroud. Ancestors, forgive us. And that's the first of the journal entries there, so yeah.